Namaste. In this video, we will take a look at the basic template for a Yoga Nidra class. And then we will break down the beginning part of that, some general guidelines for the practice. And then we'll talk a little bit about the initial relaxation and internalization. So for now, let's get a nice, comfortable seated position. Sit with spine straight, arms relaxed away from the body to allow for the full cycle of the breath. Just allow yourself to arrive in this moment, in this place. We'll practice a relaxation technique in which we practice progressive muscular relaxation by doing tension and release. So we will progressively activate specific muscle groups for a breath and then relax those muscle groups. When you are activating one section of the body, do your best to isolate the movement to just that part of the body and let everything else be heavy and relaxed. Take a moment to shift the body into a comfortable seat and let the breath be smooth. And now bend all of the toes and squeeze them tight. Take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, relax the toes. Now activate both feet, pressing them into the earth. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, relax the feet. Now activate the right calf muscle, only the right calf muscle. Deep breath in and exhale and relax. And same thing with the left calf muscle. Squeeze the muscle tight, take a deep breath in. And slow exhale and relax. Now strengthen the right thigh muscle. Only the right thigh muscle. Take a deep, slow breath in. And a slower exhalation out. And relax the right thigh. Now activate the left thigh muscle. Squeeze as tight as you can. Take a deep breath in. Slow exhale as you soften the left thigh muscle. Now squeeze the glutes and the hips. Take a nice deep breath. As you slowly exhale, relax the hips. Let them feel heavy and weighted into the seat. Now activate the muscles in the abdomen. Squeeze the abdominal muscles. Take a deep breath in. And slowly exhale and release. Make fists with both hands, wrapping the fingers around the thumb. Squeeze the fist tight. Slow, deep breath in. And as you exhale, release the fingers and the wrists. Straighten out the arms, squeeze elbows, biceps, triceps. Squeeze, take a nice deep breath in. And exhale, let the shoulders and arms hang heavy. Now bring awareness to the face. Pucker the lips, scrunch the nose, squeeze the eyes tight. Squeeze the face as tightly as you can. Deep breath in. And exhale, let all the tension roll down the body, all the way down into the earth. Last one. Raise the eyebrows. Deep breath in. And as you exhale, release everything to stillness. Good. Feel the heaviness of the bones as they rest. Skin draping over. Body soft. Notice the breath. And the mind. Take a step back and observe any movements in the mind for a few moments. Keep watching, detached and aware. Notice if the mind begins to wander. Take a step back and observe those wanderings. Now, ever so slowly, notice the breath moving gently in and out of the nostrils. Take a deep breath to reorient you. Feel the body where it rests. And gently blink open the eyes. Let's open with the sound of Om. Bring hands to heart center. Nice deep inhale to begin. Namaste. Alright, so here, as I mentioned, we will go over the basic template of a Yoga Nidra practice. And what we'll do in the upcoming lectures is we will take a look in the next couple about sort of a basic overview of each section that you'll experience in the Yoga Nidra practice, and get a bit of a summary of what's going on and where it comes from. And once we've gone through each of these stages of the practice, in the lectures that follow, we will begin to talk about the teaching methodology in Yoga Nidra. So taking sort of a deeper look at the role of the teacher, how to cue, how to cue posture and speed and tempo with which to present each of the stages as we move through the practice. So for now, let's look at an overview of each of the stages, and then later on we'll break them down one by one. Okay, so in this video, we'll take a look at the Yoga Nidra template or timeline, and then we'll talk about how to get the most out of the practice with some general guidelines, and we'll go over the introduction. So here is the basic template for a Yoga Nidra practice, and you'll see here included are some optional pieces as well. So we start with the initial relaxation. And so this could be some sort of preparatory practice. It could be some somatic movement or yoga, something to get the very busy mind for those brain waves to begin to slow down. Next step is internalization. So, this is where the practice of Yoga Nidra really begins. Here we'll be sort of setting the posture and the expectations, or lack of expectations for that matter, and learning about the necessity for stillness, etc. So you'll see the preparatory practices or the initial relaxation may take 10 to 20 minutes. The internalization, or setting up the posture and preparing for stillness and relaxation, may take between 5 and 10 minutes. Then we will go over the sankalpa, and so the teacher may explain what the sankalpa means, and the reason the sankalpa comes after the relaxation and internalization is because when we set the sankalpa, we want the student to already be in a slower brainwave state. After the sankalpa has been set, we'll move into Annamaya Kosha, which is the rotation of consciousness. That lasts about 5 to 10 minutes, and that's where we're cueing body parts sequentially through the body. After Annamaya Kosha, we go into Pranamaya Kosha, the breath awareness stage, which would last 5 to 10 minutes. And this is where we bring, where the student's attention is brought to the prana systems, the prana anatomy, the subtle energy anatomy, or just the breath awareness, depending on the level of the student. From Pranamaya Kosha, we go to Manamaya Kosha, the mind, and here we use the opposite sensations technique for 5 to 10 minutes. This, of course, is the opposite sensations such as heaviness and lightness, pain and pleasure, heat and cold. Following Manamaya Kosha, we go to Vijnanamaya Kosha with rapid visualization. So this is where objects or scenes are listed rather quickly so that the practitioner just has the moment to sort of form this concept in their Chittakasha or in their mind space. And this one will last between 10 and 15 minutes. Following the rapid visualization, there may be time there to do a longer visualization before or as part of the Anandamaya Kosha, or the pure awareness section. And this is ideally, there will be some space for the pure awareness, some silence for the student, the practitioner, to experience the Anandamaya Kosha, the place of that pure consciousness, that unbounded awareness in the bliss layer. Okay, after that, then we will repeat the Sankalpa. Remember, it is recited 3 times in the beginning and 3 times there in the end. Take a few moments for externalization, moving back into form. And this optional piece of seated meditation can maybe be 10 to 20 minutes or 20 to 30 minutes if the time allows. And the reason that's there we'll talk more about, but basically because remember that Yoga Nidra is a Pratyahara technique, and Pratyahara being the 5th of Patanjali's 8 limbs of yoga, the next limb then is dharana and dhyana. And so once the senses are adequately turned inside, that is a good time to go inside with meditation. Okay, let's take a look here at the general guidelines. So here are practice space. So where do we want to practice? Ideally not in bed, because bed has the energy of sleep. So we want to practice in a spiritual place, ideally somewhere that's inside, safe and secure, well ventilated, not breezy. So, because we're going into very receptive, deeper states of consciousness, if the environment doesn't feel safe, then the subconscious mind is constantly surveying and worrying. The subconscious mind stays on alert in case there is some type of threat. And that just keeps us from going into those deeper states. So the subconscious mind is surveying the environment, um, and that will affect whether our analytical mind stays online or not, and how long it stays online. So remember, that keeps us sort of in that neocortex and prevents us from entering into the relaxed state within the subconscious mind. Regarding music, when we're setting up the practice space, so depending on where you're practicing, traditionally the practice is done in silence without any music. But sometimes music is nice because it can help to drown out other sounds. Um, you can use sounds as a focal point to tune in and become one with the external sounds. You can, with more advanced practice, you can sort of receive those and use those as a point to go further inward. So you can receive those sounds without any judgment, without any objection, once the student is a little more advanced in the practice. But in the beginning, if there's external sounds, it can be distracting. So if you want to use music, the best thing to use would be calm brainwave music, so something that is not overpowering the teacher's voice. You may use something like binaural beats with the alpha brainwave state, ideally, because if you put it into theta brainwave, it might put the student to sleep. And so ideally, what kind of music you'd want to be listening to while practicing Yoga Nidra would be some kind of concentration music with those alpha brainwave states. Once you get a little bit more advanced with the practice and are easily able to extend the alpha brainwave state, then you could move on to theta brainwaves. Okay, when to practice. So ideally, first thing in the morning, because that is when we are most alert. We're coming freshly out of the dream state and the alpha brain waves. And so the pineal gland is active at this time, and the connection to that boundless source consciousness is simplified. It's also really nice in the morning after, like an asana practice where you've done some movement or, a workout. Then it's a nice time. It's best when you're most wakeful, because that's where you're going to get the most spiritual benefit out of it. So at night, the mind will be tired, and so you can easily lose awareness of the conscious state and slip into a sleep state. And so it's not advisable to train yourself through repetition that the format of Yoga Nidra is for sleep, when really it's to connect us with the unified field. So instead of practicing Yoga Nidra, it's better at night, if you're trying to induce sleep, to listen to a guided relaxation. Now, of course, Yoga Nidra can help someone to have better sleep by consciously relaxing the brain. So practice anytime you can. But if you want to receive the most spiritual benefit, then it's best to practice when you're most wakeful. Oftentimes, Yoga Nidra are scheduled in the evening, which is a really nice way to de-stress and hopefully get better sleep. But just know that consciousness is functioning at different levels throughout the day, and we tend to be more drowsy in the afternoon and evening. So the chances of falling asleep are much higher. And if you do find that you fall asleep a lot during Yoga Nidra, then just try practicing at different times during the day. Okay, more general guidelines. So the mind space that we will be using is called Chitakasha. This means the sky of consciousness. Chitta means mind, Akasha means space. And so this is located between the eyebrow center. And the reason we want to pay attention to this part is because it induces deeper concentration, can help us connect with our psychic symbol, and it actually induces the alpha brain state. So if you're finding it difficult to relax the brain waves and get into a deeper level of consciousness, you can practice focusing on Chitakasha, the space between the eyebrow center. Okay, the body position for Yoga Nidra is Shavasana. You want to always have the head pointing towards the sound source. So you'll set up your mat with your head towards the teacher's voice. This also helps with security, makes you feel more secure because you're closer to the sound link. And especially if you're someone who falls asleep very easily, it's much better to move closer to the teacher. If you can have your head pointing east, that is ideal. There are helpful spiritual vibrations that are coming from the east, and they flow in subtler solar currents. And so helps us to receive the solar energy. Of course, again, the optimal time to receive this energy from the east is during sunrise and sunset. That's where the solar current is at its height. And if you can't face east, the second best would be north. If you have a woolen or silk blanket, you can lay it underneath the body to insulate the body from the earth's currents so their opposite magnetic pole won't impede the life current you're pulling through your spine. In daily waking life, we are constantly pulled down towards the ground to help us stay grounded. And so when we're practicing higher states, we can insulate ourselves from that downward pull by using a woolen or silk blanket. You may explore practicing Yoga Nidra in a seated position if you tend to fall asleep more easily. Or if you're lying down to help keep yourself from falling asleep, you may just raise your forearm and try to keep it raised to stay awake so that when you start to drift off to sleep, the forearm would start to fall and wake you up. Okay. So the position of Shavasana, you'll have the legs away from each other so the inner thighs don't touch. The legs will rotate outward gently, so the little toe will move towards the mat. Be sure there's some space in the armpits. The shoulders are rolled outward and the shoulder blades are tucked underneath. It may be nice to lift and shift the pelvis down to create space in the low back, and do the same thing in the neck. Lift and lengthen the neck to find space there. Palms are facing up to achieve the highest state of relaxation, and free. So ideally nothing is touching the hands because there are so many sensors in our hands. Remember the homunculus image where our hands take up a lot of our brain space. And so if the palms can be free, then that is ideal. You may put a thin pillow underneath the head to help keep the cervical spine in balance. You want the chin to be tucked slightly, so the forehead is slightly higher than the chin. You may place a bolster underneath the knees and a towel underneath the ankles, because the ankles can begin, or the heels can begin to feel heavy. That's the reason for the second bolster there. Now, by elevating the legs, we are redirecting the blood flow from the legs into the abdomen, which helps with the rest and digest function. However, elevating the legs can cause the practitioner to feel ungrounded, and especially when you enter these subtler levels of mind. So, this is just something to keep in mind. Depending on how you're feeling as you practice. If you feel ungrounded, you may not want to lift the legs. Try a different position. You want to be sure that you're wearing warm clothing or a blanket over top. The body temperature will drop because metabolism is dropping, and that means that you may feel colder as you relax into these deeper states. Additionally, a blanket will help to provide the feeling of security and safety. You may also choose to wear an eye mask. This total darkness is very helpful because the pineal gland has a better chance of getting activated in total darkness. And just to reiterate the benefit of practicing in the morning, and just for your information, the pineal gland is most active between 3 and 4 a.m. That's when the melatonin is at its peak. And this helps to bring introspection and connection to the light of inner awareness. So the eye mask there can help induce that pineal gland, and the time of day also will really help with this pineal gland activation. Okay, let's take a look at some preparatory practices. So the preparatory practices are meant to be physical movements or pranayama that can help induce calm and relaxation. So here are some examples: somatic movement, qigong, restorative yoga, yin yoga, tension and relaxation like we practiced at the beginning of this class. Pranayama, any kind of balancing pranayama is great, like the one that we practiced a few classes ago. Nadi Shodhana is a great one, as well as Ujjayi, and sun salutations. So it's nice to get the body moving to help lower the brain wave state, so that the tension is already released from the body and the practitioner can already begin to turn inward. And the next stage is internalization. So let's take a look at that. So what is the point of this stage? It is to teach and remind the student that it is essential to remain still and relaxed. Why do we want to stay still and relaxed? Because that way the nervous system is receiving less information that it has to process, and awareness can stay inward. It can stay focused and penetrate more deeply into the psyche. So the concentration is isolated to the teacher's voice alone. Otherwise, the senses go inward, the body, breath, form, intellect, and eventually into pure awareness. Okay, the initial relaxation is preparing the body and mind for the sankalpa, because we want the mind to be in a relaxed state for initiating that sankalpa, that intention. Okay, here the mind is able to become focused, receptive, and open to taking in new information. So during internalization, the teacher will cue you to remain still, with eyes closed. Keep awareness of the voice and instructions. Be sure to stay awake and aware. Do not concentrate too intensely or analyze the instructions, and be the witness. Allow any experiences to come without any judgment or control over them. And so pratyahara then is the stage where the mind disassociates itself with the sensory channels, and it's the gateway into formlessness. So this stillness, this relaxation process, so this is where we become the witness of the body. Presence is easier than cueing tension. So here we want to bring a state of presence to each part of the body, and relaxation will be the byproduct of that presence. Here we have the definition of pratyahara, being away from the sweet nectar of the outer world. So we'll go to where the senses are hooked and become aware of sounds. So you'll meet the faculty of hearing consciously. The senses can either be a distraction or a gateway to presence. So if we meet those sensations with memory rather than meeting the vibration presently, we begin to transcend its hold on us. So we go into sounds, into the soundscape, and hold it until there's a natural inclination to move away from those sounds in the environment. And so that's what we're doing here in this internalization stage, is the teacher's going to touch each sensory system and we'll bring conscious attention to each sensation, to each sound, temperature, texture. We'll meet that sensory system where it is, and then gently flow inward instead of outward. So the auditory guidance from the teacher provides the sound link, and that means that we're not in a total state of pratyahara unless the teacher gives opportunity for silence. So most of us are living in this higher beta brain state during our waking state. And when we're living in this state, then our awareness is constantly flowing outward. So we're very fixated on the details of our life or our environment, the time, and the physical body. And it's impossible to go inward when awareness is flowing outward. And so this pratyahara is the gateway to begin the inner practice, right? And it's the first inward practice of Patanjali's 8 limbs. Remember, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama are all considered external practices. And so pratyahara is providing us that gateway from the outside sense controlled world to the inner landscape, to the inner space. And so in this internalization with the practice of pratyahara, it's an invitation to begin to settle the intention inside. It's an opportunity to connect with the breath, not change the breath, but just meet whatever is arising very presently. So we can deepen that experience with awareness and attention and bring awareness to the breath as it naturally is. This is body preparation. It's the chance to take us into the state of non-action, where we stop all voluntary movement and broaden and redirect awareness inward to stabilize the attention inside the body. And once we're there, we're in the prime space for setting our sankalpa, which we'll talk about in the next video. Let's close. Sit up straight, hands to heart. Nice deep breath in for Om. Namaste.